It is great to be here. Thank you for joining us in this panel. I'm honored to be here with a very great panelists. I'd like to talk a little bit about themselves. You have Professor Andrea Tober. She's the rector of the Hans Eisler Music School here in Berlin, a great school. She's a former director of education of the Berlin Philharmonic. She has done extensive consulting and cultural management work with German institutions. And since 2013, she has been a jury member of the funding program for cultural education, Kultur macht stark, of the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. And since 2022, she's the jury chairperson. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you.
We have Daniela Petzklova. I hope I said that right. She is a skilled PR and marketing manager with a diverse background in marketing. She holds a degree in music production from the Janacek Academy of Performing Arts and currently is pursuing a doctoral program in music production. Her research encompasses digital technologies for the distribution of classical music and innovations in music education. I am Enrique Marquez. I'm from Mexico. I'm a violist. Nobody's perfect. I currently work in the orchestra world, but I've been in education for many, many years. I used to be a director of music at the Interlochen Center for the Arts, dean of Pre-College at Manhattan School of Music, and I launched MESDA Group, which is a consulting group of friends that we work with Latin American institutions in the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Venezuela, serving community programs. So that was quite an interesting part of the work. We're here to talk about a very, very interesting topic. I think it's rather complex and unknown. What will we be doing in 20 years? How does our industry look like in the future? And how is music education preparing for the unknown, which is almost impossible? But I think a lot of people are doing great work. So what basically what we're trying to talk about today is beyond performance mastery, are young musicians being equipped with tools for an interconnected world? And does the current approach foster critical thinking? Does it incorporate liberal arts dimension, critical thinking, practical and non-performance aspects? I think we often focus so much on giving students really great tools to be amazing performers, to really go in depth. But often, I think other areas are not so well established. There are some programs that focus on management. But I'd like to ask Daniela to give us a brief outlook on music education today.
Well, I will bring some Czech perspective on this. We have kind of long music history and long music education history in Czech Republic. Everything starts with like primary art education, like primary completely in the same level as basic schools, but the students have to apply. They have to pass the exams. They have to graduate the primary art education schools. We have more than 500 primary art education schools with more than 300,000 students. So it's a big thing in Czech Republic. It's connected also with our secondary educational level, and it's kind of tricky because our secondary level is called conservatoires, with 4 or 6 year study programs. And after the 6 year of study programs, they receive non-academic degree of diploma specialist. And after 6 years, they graduate a secondary education, and then they are able to apply to music academies. And we have 2 music academies in Czech Republic, in Prague and in Brno. And with 3 year bachelor study program, 5 years master study program, and 4 year PhD study programs in interpretation, composition, or also with music management and music production.
Thank you. Andrea, you want to share about the Hans Eisler School, what you're doing today, or how is it looking for you and your students?
The university, my school. When you ask students entering the newbies, when they enter the school, they often, coming from different countries from all over the world, they think they arrived heaven. Because they know we have in Germany the highest density of orchestras, concert halls, opera halls. So they think they are in the core, in the center of classical music. My university has a high profile on, is very focused on The performing arts, we have no education, music education in our study programs. We have only the education for becoming a musician in an orchestra or a freelancer. We have singing and we have staging, composition, and we have in Germany, I think, the highest percentage of international students. So it's very unique in Berlin, and at our university we have 72% coming from all over the world. So that means we are very, very diverse with several cultural backgrounds, languages, expectations. They're coming from different school systems, different cultural landscapes, and part of our work is to bring them together and to support them to develop their skills as an artist, as a musician, and to give them some guidance to find their own path to a professional life as a musician or an artist. We have only around about 600 students. We are one of the smallest music schools in Germany. We have in total 24. It's a high density also when you compare it to other countries. So we have a big tradition, and it's part of our job to care about the future, that we are still there in 20 years. And it's part of my job to create this future. Perhaps so far.
Thank you. In our prior discussions, we talked about how does success look like, or how do we define success for musicians? Is it getting a job? Is it becoming a soloist? Is it being a recording artist? Or perhaps it can mean to be fulfilled, to be happy, to enjoy life. So in a way, if you can share a little bit about how you are working on that to your students, because I think that's a very important topic. Often we're focused so much on success equals this, but it can equal many things, and success can change as you grow, as you go into the world, I think.
You are obviously in the core of the discussion that we have and start. We have a tension between different positions in our music school, and it's representative for all music schools, I suppose, because we have still the expectation of excellence, and excellence is reflected by students that have these jobs in big, brilliant orchestras, countable with winning prizes in competitions. On the other hand, we see that the cultural landscapes, even in classical music, is changing, and that there are different careers, and success means something different. And I think the discussion means that we are in a transition process, and perhaps that I am the rector of the schools is a symbol for this cultural transition. I'm from the education part of the classical music. I'm aware of social relevance of that what we are doing, and it's something that I think bring into the discussion as a mindset. And as I see my colleagues are really becoming more and more open-minded because of the students, the new ones that come to our school, and they have different questions more and more. And I think we have this, or we understand our school more and more as a place for discussion, to negotiate about what and how the students have to be educated, and what they need to survive is one aspect, but to have a fulfilled life is a different aspect. And we are in a discussion not only with our community itself, we are also in discussion with all these cultural managers, the managers from orchestras. We are part of the board around the idea how to reinvent our institutions. We are part of this discussion. I know that several of my colleagues are more or less scared, and they feel that they feel insecure in a way, and they think that are criticized for the way they did the education before. That does not mean that I think we have to learn together to become better and different, and we have to learn together. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that deserves a round of applause, because I think that's the way to go forward. Anila, any thoughts on this, on your experience?
Well, I totally agree. I think the role has changed. I think, it's about the musical training, but we are in a different environment than 20 years back. We are much more aware of the students' needs. We are much more aware about their mental health. After COVID, there was completely mess, I think. We are trying to implement new technologies into education. We are adding some progressive study programs. So we are trying to be in a pace with the world. But I think there's a big but. The world is changing much faster than we are able to implement some changes. And there's a lot of aspects prevent us from innovations. So we have to be agile as possible and to learn from each other, I think, and share the ideas with other countries, other universities, and also from the students, because the students' needs has to be on the first place.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think the non-negotiable in our world is excellence. We have to really strive to have an excellent education to give students really the best we can. And performance excellence is right there. I think that cannot change, because that's what we love to do. We love to play and make great music and be creative. But I think sometimes other aspects are lagging, like liberal arts or literature. In the US, there are two kinds of schools. There are conservatories and there are universities with a music department. And they're both very strong. But at the conservatory, you're pretty much getting a full-on music education with some academic requirements that are not taken very seriously. And at the university, you can take any class you can imagine, science, philosophy, history, and so on and so forth. I see a shift in the US going towards the universities in a way. I am an 80s person. So back in my generation, when I was in high school, we all wanted to go to performance. That was the one track. Today, in my experience at Interlock and at MSM Pre-College, are programs for students in middle and high school. Many want to go to universities and to go to Ivy League schools. At MSM Pre-College, 20% of our graduates from high school go into Ivy League schools. That's the Harvard, Princeton, Yale. They really want to go there. And I was working at Harvard for a few years at the music department, and it was amazing to see that there are so many students who are majoring in economics, but they play in the band, they sing in the choir, they play in the orchestra. They even have self-run orchestras that students themselves organize and they fund for. So I think it's a model that is quite interesting, that they're getting an excellent academic education, a good music education, and they are able to sort of create their orchestras and their programs. And the students in these orchestras that they run, they have jobs. One is the executive director, one is the director of marketing, one is the director of finance. So in a way, they're learning a lot of how to, in a way, go out in the world and become managers. And there do you have some workshops in your school about management or internship opportunities for your students here in Berlin?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have part of the curriculum management for musicians, like self-management, project management. It's part of the obligation they have to do these classes, but my experience is that we do our best to confront them with some questions that might be answered when they are a professional. We try to
open mind the students and to show that the horizon is much more wider and farther than they thought. But at our school, when they come, they are really, really keen to learn music, and they are absolutely dedicated to train their instrument and absolutely focused on their excellence to play the instrument in the best way. It's the openness for all these questions of skills that are asked to become entrepreneur, to do your own project. These questions are when they leave the school, then they arise. During our studies, during this their time at our school, they some of them are really interested because they feel that they have some more questions, that they feel that perhaps their sense in life is not only to play in an orchestra as part of a collective, as part of a group. They feel that they want something more or different, and then they are connected to me normally because I'm a teacher at this Hochschule, at this university for these management stuff and education, and they return with questions to my classes, and then we develop things. But I think we it's part of the cultural transition that we have to agree as a community of teachers at our school that we are all together in charge to create this open-mindedness, to create the interest, the curiosity, to that they feel that are part of something more than only a small community of violin players. That they feel that their job is not only playing in an orchestra in the future; it's also being part of a system of a democracy, to represent some values in society, to share and to care what they want and want to deliver to this to society. It's all about communication. And I think we have, as a community of teachers, we have to care about all these aspects together. And sometimes I feel my colleagues, they delegate this duty to my colleagues and me, that we are in charge of creating this mindset. But it starts at the beginning. It starts in all these lessons, face to face, when they train together, when they discuss about interpretation. It starts there. That they have to share and to care and to express themselves and their opinions, and to support the students become holistic personality.
Thank you. I could not agree more. Daniela, from the other end of the spectrum, you are not a musician, but you went to school for music and cultural management. How does your peers view their musicians, or how is their interaction with orchestra members, or are you on your own as a cohort of student managers?
Well, we have one kind of big music management department. We have 20 students around, so we prepare also some courses for our music students, especially for composers, conductors, and the voice department, so to prepare them some entrepreneurship skills for the future. But I think there's again the big but. They want to have just the music excellency, and they don't even know what is in the world right now. But I think the environment is changing. We talk a lot with our graduates. We talk a lot with professional field, with orchestras in Czech Republic, with festivals, opera houses, and we are always trying to evaluate these processes and involve them in our not curriculum, but courses, because it's always hard to add something new into our curriculums because of the accreditation process and quality assurance system. So the implementation of changes is really slow, and we are trying our best to implement it. And as a music manager and music producent, I think we have a really strong background with it. So we are trying to help them as much as possible.
But do you take a music history class or a music theory, or can you take those if you want to?
Yeah. I have to. I have to.
I think that's wonderful, because I think in a way it's one world that we are dividing into two. It should be, maybe a music school should provide all of those areas for all students. In my case, I was a orchestra nerd. I love the orchestra. I still do. I go to all the concerts I can. So in a way, it's not divorced one from the other, I think. I find quite a bit of pleasure now programming a season for an orchestra, working with composers, working with soloists, with conductors, engaging young composers, doing collaboration. I think that is very creative work that my strong music background gave me the tools and criteria to what to do. So I wish when I was younger I had this idea that there is, I think, is a musical ecosystem. I want to talk a little bit about that. Give me one second. I think there's we have different worlds. We have the performance world, which you can be in an orchestra, chamber music group, in a new music ensemble. You can be a soloist. You can be in a folk music group or a traditional music group. Then you have education. You can become also a faculty member or a mix of this, a faculty member, a professor in higher education. You can become a basic education teacher, work in the public school, work in private schools. You can do research. You can go into a doctorate and do research at the musicology. You can be an executive. You can be an orchestra CEO, a music manager. You can run a festival. You can run a publishing company. You can run a recording label. You can be a luthier, begin making instruments, repairing instruments. Or if you don't go that way, you can become an audience member in the future, become a board member of an institution. You can do so much more. You can fund orchestras or fund museums. So I think this is somehow not talked about in the music schools. At least in my experience, it wasn't. So I thought I was a failure because I didn't go into performance. That was in my head. My friends are still my friends, but that was very hard for me to address, going as a young person to an adult in the industry. So in a way, I wish my peers would have talked about all these areas. That in a way, that's the music world. It's not just performance. So I think we're very focused on just the performance, and then later on, you find your way. So any thoughts on this? This is my radical ideas, but I mean, I don't know what do you think about this?
I thought about a story because it's all about careers and success and different paths, and it's not a straight path anymore. Perhaps never been. I got an email from a former student. He was a pianist. He returned to Korea after his studies, and he wrote me because, as he mentioned, because he wanted to let me know that even if he not always understood what my topics are during the courses, and why he should think about these topics after years, after trying to build a career in Korea, he's understood. He told me that he now is playing concerts as a pianist. He's running a music school for small children with some colleagues. He is an agent for chamber music ensembles, and he wanted to let me know that he understood right now that being something more than only a pianist is okay, that you are allowed to do different things, and that it's also success to have your own understanding of success, and to create to create your own fulfilled life is success. and that he wanted to let me know that he that he now understand what I mentioned years before. So it's my private success story. There are some other examples. One of my students is also here in the audience. Waving. There are so many examples of interesting personalities, interesting musicians. They might not fulfill the expectation of excellence, countable success, winning prizes, big position. And I'm so proud that I'm part of the development and to empower them. Yeah, as you mentioned before, the students are in the core and their life, and to empower them, to give the support as strong as possible, that they are able and encouraged to do their own decisions and not only fulfilling expectation of their teachers in their main course. It's a kind of similar to becoming to grow up as a child. In the first period, you are very dependent from your parents, and you cope, you imitate, and you learn a lot, and you are very close. Then there's phases of revelation. Afterwards, you perhaps become independent, and after that, you become interdependent, and you perhaps understand that you are part of a system, that you are not only depending on someone, you are not independent absolutely, but the truth is in between, and to support and to deliver all the skills and to encourage them to go through all these phases. And it's okay. You are okay is the big message for me as a rector.
Thank you.
Well, we are trying to encourage them that have a portfolio career is not a bad way how to live in the future. You can be a soloist, you can be a player in the orchestra, and a lot of our students have a really different careers in IT and other aspects of their life. So it's always encouraging them to tell them, well, it's okay not to be okay. It's a lot about their mental state and health, and to be secure themselves.
Perhaps additionally, we got the message from committee of board of conductors in the direction of the music schools. The conductors wish that music schools train their students to prepare for a professional life in an orchestra, for example, because they observe that members of an orchestra they lose their motivation during their professional life. And I ask myself, interesting, a fun fact, ask yourself, why is it so? And again, when you talk to orchestra musicians and you ask them if they still feel as an artist, they say no normally, depending on which section of the orchestra. If it's a string player, for example, the artistical fulfilling life is not in the orchestra alone. They are musician in the core, and they are searching for different places and spaces where they can feel that they are artists. It's not in the orchestra, perhaps. So even if you have a professional life as something, you are still something different already. So the holistic aspect, I think, is so important. Even if you train the students for becoming a musician in orchestra, be aware you are still more. You are a person with different interests. You are an artist with other fields of doing something, and do it. Yeah, you create your own life.
I agree. I have many colleagues in very good orchestras that they've been playing orchestras since they were 12. So in what other profession do you do the same thing from age 12 till you retire? It's quite demanding, I think, to keep that spirit, and that I think the Berlin Philharmonic manages to have that amazing spirit. From what I see from rehearsals, they always seem to love performing and giving their best at every single rehearsal. But how do we do that? I mean, how do music schools provide something for musicians to maintain that fire? As Mahler said, fire is not about worship, and actually it's about keeping the tradition alive. So how do we sort of do that? Or is that even our role as music educators? Do we have to, or do we not? Is it up to them? But often their formative years are spent at the youth orchestra or the youth choir at the conservatory, and then they go on, and that's their own academic world. So if they don't have, but I strongly believe in literature and reading about having courses in art history or politics, so that they are really part of the world. We talked about that a little before. How does one fit in society as a musician? What is our role, and should music schools foster that aspect of, how do you fit in society? You're really an important member of society. So people love going to the symphony or the chorus or the opera on Friday, and that is a big part of their week, a big part of their day, and that gives them even a spiritual relief in a way. Or, hearing a recording at home with a glass of wine, whatever. I mean, it's just a big part of what we do, I think, music. Without the arts, this would be a very awful world. I mean, it would be unthinkable to live without arts. In the pandemic, what kept us going? Netflix and music, right? I mean, that's what kept us sort of out of this nightmarish world that we had for a little bit. Any thoughts, Daniela, on this aspect?
Well, it brings my mind the questionable master-apprentice model, because I think the students have the same reaction as their teachers, so we have to kind of a little bit work with our teacher staff to change their mindset, how to teach them. I think they have to be mentors then as a teachers and prepare them for the future. So I think that's why it's questionable, and why we have the much more student-centric approach for the education in the music.
Yeah, I agree. Same. Yeah. And it's that means that we have to care about the self-understanding as a teacher. It's a teaching person, and it's the next question is who do we gain for these positions, and what do we expect from our teachers? And yeah, it's a big topic. We are discussing a lot. Obligation, for example, for trainings for our teachers. Around the world, around these topics, awareness, diversity, all these aspects are so important, and it's so hard to get my colleagues to join these workshops. Sometimes I hope it's only a question of a new generation entering these positions as teachers, but it's not only a question of age or generation, it's also a question of mindset, and this is what we have to create together.
Absolutely. If you had you could create a school for the next 10, 20 years, what do you think should be essential to maintain? Or what should you think should be sort of very different from what's going on today? Maybe you wanna start us off.
Well, sometimes I don't know what will happen tomorrow, so it's kind of hard to prepare something for the future. But I think we have to have much more courses in entrepreneurship skills, soft skills, presentation skills. So to let them students the space to collaborate with different departments, to different cultures, to actually kind of agree to the heritage they have. So I think the diversity of all our aspects of education has to be in one spot.
I wish, dream. Really the focus on students and to offer individual study path, to offer them what individual is needed, and not only everybody has to join this class, really to create something individual that is supportive and needed in the moment for the next step in the development of the individual student. I wish that the colleagues, the teachers in the main courses are aware that we are a community of teachers that give guidance and support to these students, and that success is not only the success of the main teacher. It's success of all of us that deliver the empowerment and the skills to train them. I wish that we really feel as a community of teachers, and we all deliver whatever we can do and whatever we have as competences to support, to give support, and to just really to strengthen these young musicians for a future that we don't know.
Thank you. I'd like to open up for questions from the audience. If anybody has a question, we can give them the microphone. Oh,
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that topics like portfolio careers and redefining success are part of kind of the current conversation at an institutional level. I've come from the U.S. conservatory system, and I'm now at the MDW in Vienna. And I wonder sometimes, I don't know what the data is for, say, Hans Eisler, how many people actually get into orchestras who go through the system, but it seems to me that it's a fairly small percentage, as it is kind of everywhere. So if we're still defining success as like getting into the orchestra, because we keep defaulting to that, really, right? And the idea to combat that is just to add more things that the students have to do. I just wonder how effective that will be long term. And I wonder too, since portfolio careers and entrepreneurship are something we're trying to redefine as a success, maybe some of the professors that get hired should be emblematic of those sort of things. Are there any initiatives that are being considered to move more in that direction, or are we still just hiring stars from the solo field?
Good question. I do my very, very best to get some other models, other role models as teachers. It's a big discussion, and as long as I'm in this leadership position, I try to ask my questions to my colleagues, because at the end we are organization. We have on committees. They come together on democratic paths, so we have to agree on things. That means in advance we have to discuss on things. And I try to be very present in every discussion, to ask questions and to turn the ship slowly in the right direction. But it takes time. It really takes time, because to get through the idea of reproducing the same model is really, really hard. Because again, my colleagues sometimes feel criticized, but they have success on the other hand, but they feel criticized, and so there's a big tension. We have to work on it together, and my strategy is to build alliances with some colleagues and to ask people to join in, to come to committees and to have stronger voices. This is my path and my hope.
Any thoughts, Daniela, on this?
Yeah, I think it's a lot about advocacy. in our academy, we have also kind of committees and trying to discuss everything, but it's not always the way to discuss something. But yeah, I think the entrepreneurship skills and other skills needs to be there in the curriculums, and we need to change mindsets of all from the bottom to the top. It's not just about the students and teachers, and it's also a lot about management to change their minds, how to develop the curriculums, how to develop the musicians for the future.
I think some faculty are reticent to this change, but I don't think it's going to affect them at all. People are still going to practice their hours and do their etudes and their juries and do really well, but they will have a complementary education. I mean, I think there is this battle that it shouldn't. I don't think it should happen because it's not going to affect anybody. There are some master teachers who are keen on, doing it this way because it works, and there are amazing musicians, amazing teachers, and they really know how to get students to go to the next level. But I think this discussion should not be, so the tension should be far, far less because it's just supporting the young students.
I have a question. Thank you very much for the debate. It's kind of similar in the vein of the previous question, but I wonder, in the music education, we have a lot of this one-to-one lesson with the master teacher. I myself come from a classical background, and a lot of these entrepreneurship or all these other lessons are very abstract, as I remember them, because you get like 20, 30 students in a room and you have this presentation and everything seems very abstract. And I wonder, what are your thoughts about kind of tailoring it more to this individual one? Because, if you have a lesson with the teacher, sometimes you talk about other things rather than an etude or a sonata or whatever. And I wonder if these kind of more entrepreneurship management lessons could also be tailored a little bit, and then they feel less abstract and students could be a bit more successful. I just wonder, what is the thoughts of implementing that perhaps in the education?
Thank you. I think a good way to learn is to do. So often some schools in the US, for example, you can be an intern for a semester at a local orchestra or a new music ensemble or a recording label. So you go 4 hours a week or more and you actually work there. I think that way is not abstract, is you're actually learning how it works. You're doing it, you're supporting. That's how I started working. I was an intern at Lincoln Center for 1 year. I loved it. They even paid me. So I started to see I like this. I like working with production and education and marketing and writing the checks. I thought it was a nice way to do it, and that's where I got into it. So I think in a way you need to, of course, lectures about it because it can be theoretical, but I think the best way to do it is by actually getting it done. Or maybe you can start running your orchestra at that school, or helping the librarian, or helping put in the chairs. The things that are so basic, perhaps, but you can have a career, I think, in that realm.
Well, that's one point of view. We are trying to tailor them for the exact students. If they are composers, conductors, we are developing some workshops with professionals from the field, so they have the same point of view as a students. And we are evaluating the process of our management courses for musicians. So we always ask them after the semester, was it good, bad? Do you want something else? Do you want project management course? Do you want marketing course? It's always a discussion.
Yes, always a discussion for us too. We tried and made some mistakes. We learned. We tried something new. We have not the one solution that works for all. That's the point. And tailor-made is something that we have to implement in the curriculum, and we start this process to enable these tailor-made offers in all these topics. We start right now a process of revision of these bachelor and master curricula, and we discuss with our colleagues what is needed in the beginning, what are the chances to start in the first semester of the bachelor. Is it too much information, or is it the right balance to confront them with some issues? What is needed in advance? What can we offer? Blended learning is one topic because, for example, you have a class for rights, all the topics around rights in music. For some students, it's perhaps interesting. For some, it's not, and it's in 1 year in and they're out, and nothing is left at the end of the study. And to offer something that is achievable after your studies and achievable when you need it is one of our big challenges right now. And my colleague is sitting over there. We try to create an online platform to give some orientation all these topics and to get some information, so that to offer some self-studying program, so to say. You can't do everything for everybody in the right way, but yeah, to learn how could we optimize our office is a process.
I want to add something for the learning by doing. We had a lot of projects involved with students, not from the artistic part, but also from the management side. So they are creating everything, and the beginning, from the beginning to the end of the chamber opera at stage. So we are trying to be I teach also our students, so we are trying to be mentors to let them know that the process is not just about success, it's also about a lot of failures. So that's something what we are doing by learning by doing. So I think also it's the way, but a lot of topics for the music students are so abstract, and we are always trying to teach them how to collaborate in the team with other students, so that the conductor is kind of a leader, that the musician has to follow something, that the manager has to be kind of leader, but the manager, and that everything has to be done. So the work on projects in a team is a way how we are trying to do it.
Thank you.
Yep.
You can just say your name and...
Yeah, my name is Stefan Gies. I'm from the European Association of Higher Music Education Institutions. It's an umbrella organization which is including all those institutions you are talking about. I have a question, but thank you very much for addressing this topic, which is incredibly relevant, and for your contributions, because you're pointing to the right things. Allow me, before I address the questions, just it's not a criticism, but a hint, a language hint. You are using the terms conservatoires in three different meanings. If you talk about, Enrique, about conservatoire, you mean something different, as Daniela said, and Andrea is avoiding the term because in German, conservatorium is still another thing, which is not her cup of tea. That's why our organization's name is Association Européenne des Conservatoires. But if you translate it to European lingua franca English, which is not American English nor British English, but what we talk in Brussels, you should say higher music education institutions, because it's the only legal correct and crystal clear term, just for the future, maybe to avoid misunderstandings. I have a lot of experience with these kind of things. First, I wanted to say that we were involved in a big European research project in the last 3 years, which was called Fast 45, Future Art School Strengths in 2045. And we were not so much talking about what the institutions would look like in 20 years, but it was more the question if they are relevant in 20 years, but if they are still existing. So I would like to open up a little bit your mindset. I mean, you find on the website Fast 45, also the final report and these things that are addressed there. I think it's interesting. But my question is, we had a similar on the similar topic yesterday together with my colleague Manus Carey, 2 sessions, And we were stressing a lot of those topics we were stressing as well. But we talked also about the entrance examinations, because they are the key gatekeepers, so to say, to keep out those people or to bring in people you might have in mind as future students that you so far don't reach out. That my question is, how would you imagine your ideal entrance examination for the future?
Oh. A good question. As you see, we start thinking about it. First information, we changed our entrance examination. We have a first round with video material, and we try to encourage people who can't afford to travel to Germany, for example, to apply for an invitation. This is one step, I think, helpful to perhaps get in contact with interesting personalities that perhaps are not able to come to audition in Berlin. For the future, I would love to have a diverse committee, not only auditioning for your main course. My dream is to have really a conversation with these young people who want to apply for a position in our school. I would love to talk with them and to find out if these people are really interested to become a musician and not only a player. If they are really interested in learning and not only to train. If they are interested, if they have in mind that that studying means more than only get lessons with your main course teacher. It means to open your mind and to open your horizon and to get in contact with the community and to collaborate with other students. It starts there, to talk to the applicants. We don't do this, and it's my job to change it, but it's hard to get entrance because my colleagues still have the idea it's up to them to verify the technical qualities and to judge if there is potential. And potential is I don't know if they really know what they mean when they say potential and how they measure potential during 20 minutes of listening to these applicants. So it's a big discussion, and I have some ideas, and it's a long path to change or to get entrance into this very vulnerable moment.
Yes, I agree. I think it would be good to have an interview also alongside the audition, just to see what this person is thinking about, what they're doing in life, what are their hopes and dreams, and if they'll be a good fit at the school. Anything you'd like to add?
We talk a lot about changing mindset on our education level, but I think it's a lot about changing mindset on secondary level of the teachers and the students to broaden their mindset. And I think the interview is one way, but the committee should be from different fields, not just the musicians. And as a applicant for music management study program, we had a long interview, not just the tests, and we also have to collaborate in the team. So I think that is a good way how to apply and how to introduce yourself as a person, as a personality, if you wanna study something like music management and music production.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hello, my name is Claudine Cinq-Mars. I am at the Conseil québécois de la musique, which is a musicians and ensemble association in Quebec, Canada. What we see at the association, we represent the sector and we have lifelong trainings, and we help musicians and ensemble to manage to get the tools to manage their career. We are not managers. But what we see is that there's a very big gap in the 5 years after they graduate from music schools, and they're not really ready to come within the association yet. So I was wondering, as a music school or conservatories or higher music institution, have you ever thought of having these trainings or classes for graduates? Since you said that they come back after, now that they are on the working market, that they have questions or that they are lacking in some skills to really, manage their career. So is that something that is possible to come back or have these graduate classes, for example?
There are some models in Berlin. We have with the UDK, the University for Performing Arts or Arts. They have a Berlin Career College. This is accessible for all graduates 5 years after. So they can join in. They have a special program and a special funding, and this is it's a point. In my case, all these topics are integrated in the curriculum. It's because it's tailor-made for the beginning of the bachelor studies. It's not really interesting for the young professionals, because it's a different level. And we tried to mix these groups and to have a sort of peer learning from somehow already experienced older students or professionals mixed with beginners in our study programs. But it's so diverse. It's not working as good as I imagined. But as I mentioned before, we tried to develop a new model of dealing with all these topics and to make workshops accessible for different levels, and to make clear on which level this workshop will be, so that people can orientate in a system. And my wish is to make it accessible for all our former students for, let's say, 2 years after they graduated.
I think that's wonderful. That maybe fits into the continuing education or lifelong learning aspect. But maybe what if you were a student, after you finish, you can have 10 more years of an affiliation that you can go back and do workshops or even online if you move around. I think that'd be a wonderful thing, perhaps just to consider that the students can then be part of the school, belong for much longer than just after you finish. You cannot go into the building anymore after graduation. That's a wonderful thing. Any ideas?
Yeah, our dream is to work with our graduates more in the future. But there is a lot of courses for advanced musicians. Also, I don't know if it's the right name, but our dean was involved in kind of emerging. It's called project. They work with established musicians, established ensembles, and I think that's the way how the musicians and ensembles could develop their career in a European way, because of the emerging project was supported by European Union, I think.
Thank you. Next question. And there's somebody here in the bottom, if they can give you the microphone. Maybe after her, you can go next.
Thank you. Sorry. Hello, I'm Ruth Bertram. I'm a producer, and I'm from the UK, obviously. And I just produced a project where we went around called Song and Sign, and we went around 4 of the UK conservatoires It was a disability-focused project, but we had some really, really interesting conversations with our colleagues, the administrators at the conservatoires, about the exact things that you've been talking about, providing holistic education to our musicians. Something that came out of it was out of these conversations was that within the UK conservatoires, the ones that offer music, dance and acting and singing, the students don't tend to cross-pollinate, so to speak. The musicians don't really speak with the actors don't speak to the dancers. Some of this is a location problem. Some of the schools are within the same conservatoire, but are, logistically, they're far away from each other. But other than that, it seems to be an ingrained cultural thing. And forgive me for my ignorance, I don't know about, whether music schools in Europe also include dance, acting. Obviously, it contains singing, but can you speak to the kind of cross-pollination of your musicians? Actually, even within the orchestra, as a cellist myself, I would have never spoken to a French horn player in my life.
Thank you. I think you're absolutely right, and that's so true that they don't talk to each other. And I was working at Boston University as a consultant, the dean of the College of Performing Arts, which had music, College of Arts, called music, visual arts, and theater. So we found that the schools didn't talk to each other. The same building, they would never talk. So what we thought is to have an initiative called the Keyword Initiative. So we had faculty from each school come together in a committee, and they chose a keyword every year. One was resilience, one was violence, depending on what's happening in the world or in the state or in the city. And then all the schools programmed together a season around resilience. So they did a ballet or a orchestra work. So they would try to have that way, like more communication. At Interlochen, what I was trying to do with the composers, have composers meet with writers every few weeks for pizza. They're young kids, they're high school students. So because they have so much in common and they don't even talk to each other. I think it's the same, very similar to be a composer or a writer. Or if you're an actor, a violist, or a dancer, you share so much in common. So I think that's also something that we should strive for, but it's hard to get people to talk to each other in the arts. And I'm not sure why, but it's just... it can mean then you get to scheduling or the administrative things or the credits, and it can become difficult to work out. But I think that Juilliard is trying to do that ever so often more. Juilliard that has music, theater, and dance, so they're trying to now really... They have the first president, which is not a musician, he's a dancer, Damien Wetzel. So he's really advocating for communication within the school, and they're doing great projects, very creative with the three departments.
Well, yes, sometimes I feel that even we have two faculties, we have theater faculty and faculty of music, sometimes we behave as two different schools. And it's sometimes sad because we have a lot of potential to work together with the actors, with the directors. So even the directors for theater are able to try to rehearse with the opera directors, with the on the stage. So it stands on a few people who are able to create some change in mindsets and connect to these our faculties. But it's one of a kind project, I think. But we want to collaborate more, I think. We also encourage students from composition department to work with musicians to develop new compositions and to talk to them how to play it, because sometimes the students of the instruments are like, why to play it? I don't know how. Why did you do it like that? So that's always about the mindset.
Yes. As a rector, I right now try to solve some of these problems that you mentioned via thinking about new structures of our university, our school. We are so small. We have only around about 600 students, and even then we have these bubbles, not talking with each other. And I try to. I have a small group of allies. We are talking about how can we force them, students as teachers as well, to talk to each other, to engage, to be involved, to be interested in the world that surrounds them. For example, we think about strengthen at the first place groups that are via DNA coming together. Like, for example, all string players, they have some common interests, some common topics, and to strengthen their exchange and communication platforms, because they have not. They are only some very active persons that are part of the committees, but not these groups, not all the members. And we think about how can we force them to come together, to talk and to agree on things, to discuss. But we feel, for example, we offer platforms like, we call it Eisler Discourse. It's a platform for intersectional, interdisciplinary exchange, talking about topics of our time. To talk about democracy. What does it mean? A role as an artist in society. What does it mean? And we see only the same faces, only a few of them, and two students. And the question is, where are they? They are in the practicing rooms. They are in the canteen during the breaks of the rehearsal, and we need to get into their path in their daily world, in their reality, and we have to find the keys. What is interesting for them? What is really needed? Where can I get access to them? And from there, we try to imagine and invent is the right word. Offers for coming together, and the interest, for example, is to have more party. I agree. Yes, we need some more party where, for example, people really come together in an informal way, without expectations, to meet on eye level and to have exchange, to feel that they are part of a bigger community. And this is the point, because sometimes we lose them in their face-to-face lessons and the practicing rooms where they practice 8 hours a day. They are not really connected to each other. And the strategy is, on the one hand, to build a new structure, on the other hand, to have seminars where they are forced to do something together and to talk to each other. Again, a former student, we had project management, and he was forced to talk to other students and to create a project, and the result was a flash mob, I suppose, in the subway, and they played as an ensemble, never played together, strange combination of instruments, and they had to arrange the pieces for their use. And as my colleague then told me afterwards, years afterwards, friendships developed for life from other instrument sections. So yes, there are some models, but we have not the solution. And to create these spaces of coming together, talk together, to doing things together is so important.
I think you have time for one last question. The gentleman over here. Sorry, the gentleman in the first row wanted. It's okay. All right, we can talk after. So maybe over there.
Hi, my name is Monika Tomascurude. I live in Norway, but I grew up in Romania. So as Daniela said, with a long line of education from the first grade, like when I was like 6 years old. So I grew up in this competitive mode, in this professional, you have to be the best and you do only the best. And higher education, both in Romania and in Norway. What I lacked when I remember what I felt like I wanted to do when I was in high school, but high school like before coming to before higher education, like it was like the last when I was like 15 to 18 years old. What I wanted the most, it was chamber music, and it wasn't a part of the curriculum. So I'm thinking maybe if we think about higher education, the conservatories and the universities, about how contacting the lower education in a way and making it so that the students that come into the higher education are somewhat prepared for all the marketing and all this becoming a musicians, like about reaching out to the lower education, if you understand. Did you think about that?
We are trying to be in touch on our first level and our secondary level, because a lot of our teachers also have a portfolio career, so they teach on a different levels. So we have the point of view from them, and yeah, but I think always a big but.
We are in touch, yes, with music school system. I observe marketing or something like that is not topping in music school education on the first grade. They are focused on developing skills around music theory, ear training, and technical aspects of the instrument. But marketing is not a topic. We are talking to our partner school. It's a model here in Berlin. We have a music gymnasium. And we are talking about creating something like bridges to a study program and to show what does it mean to become a professional musician, what is needed, what are the options after your studies, to show the different study programs, not only at our school, even at the UDK, because they have also music education trainings or study programs, and to show them the variety of becoming a professional musician with different profiles. The thing is, I did some evaluation after our seminar program, first and second semester and the bachelor with the students. And the opinions are completely divided in extremes. Some think it can't be early enough to be confronted with all these topics, to think about different stuff all around being a musician, and to think about society and systems and education systems. The other opinion is, I am not interested. It's not about this, why I'm studying. I only want to play. And I believe if I practice enough, I will do my career. And we still have these different perspectives. And who knows? Yeah, I think, yes, in a way, they have the right to be focused on the instrument at the beginning and to be completely dedicated to music and to training in a way. Yes, and this is why I mentioned we need these individual paths. At the end, when they leave school, they all must be aware of what is waiting outside. Perhaps it's not in the beginning for everybody right, because they need something different. Might be. So these I think my opinion is the strategy is to find tailor-made offers and to begleiten, to accompany the students, to give them guidance, to help them, to empower them, and to, at the right moment during their study program, at different moments, they perhaps need some advice. What is next to study? What do you need now? And what is your idea for your future? Because it changes. Some of my students, at the beginning, they are completely convinced they want to the orchestra, they want this life, they want to completely get into this world. Nothing else matters. After some years, they completely changed their mindset and completely made some different experiences. And I think we have to offer different experiences during their study that they can explore different ways of becoming a musician. And even there, I'm not a fan of thinking everybody has to make this management course. Yeah, it's one for all does not work. I think we have to talk about what do you need? What can we do to support you? There are some expectations at the end, yes, to be, and it's the quality. It's a question of being a professional. That means you have to deliver something, but perhaps in your own way. Yeah.
Thank you, that was wonderful. We have to stop. I want to read one quote before we go from José Antonio Abreu, El Sistema's founder. He said one time, "Music profoundly transforms a child's psyche because it opens their intellect and sensitivity to an explicit horizon. Music plants values in the child's soul. It teaches them to appreciate the beautiful, the noble, and therein lies the seed of what later becomes aesthetic values and then translate into ethical values." José Antonio Abreu. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you to the panel, and enjoy the rest of the sessions.